Ukrainian issues. So definitely all of us, we are very much, concerned, and also we're feeling a lot of solidarity with Ukraine, with their fight. We believe that victory of Ukraine will come with our support. That will be of very big significance, geopolitical significance, not only for Ukraine, but also for the whole Europe, and including, we hope, positive influence on transformations in Russia itself. So that is what we all are very much involved. Today we have a very special event. Maybe it will become in some way, something traditional. I would call it online coffee, on Ukrainian issues, morning coffee. And we have a special event with Andrius Tapinas, very well known in Lithuania, and I think now globally, journalist, media owner, whatever. Maybe he will introduce himself, more precisely, more correctly. But today we invited Andrius Tapinas also from Lithuania, as myself, because quite recently, in Lithuania he managed to initiate very well known and very interesting and very symbolic, and I would even call it very touching initiative. With crowdfunding, proposal to buy Bairaktaro, which everybody of us, of course, we know what does it mean, Bairaktaro, for Ukrainian army. And all of us in Lithuania, and perhaps globally, people were surprised that during 3 days, Lithuanians, under the initiative and leadership of Andrius Tapinas, managed to collect 5 million euros. And Bairaktaro, well, I will not go into the details, not telling the whole story, Andrius will tell all the details, but as we understand, Bairaktaro is coming. Why I invited Andrius, and I am very, very grateful to him that he agreed to participate, because really I see that as a very important example for much broader, European community. When, we see in some way difference, how some political leadership in different countries are behaving or are not able to decide on weapons delivery, it appears that people have different opinion. And we see opinion polls in Germany, in France, in some other countries of old Europe, where people are very much in support of Ukraine. And maybe this, what I call power of the people can be a next trend in European support to Ukraine, having in mind not only weapons deliveries. There will be a lot of big issues where Europe will need to decide. For example, now we are discussing, in the capitals of Europe, including Brussels and Strasbourg, from where now I am speaking to you. We're discussing candidate status to Ukraine and so on. Where really, I think that the political will is much stronger to support Ukraine than the will of some political leadership in different capitals. So that's why this example of how citizens of Europe can show their will to support Ukraine through crowdfunding initiatives, through something similar, is really important even in the broader sense. So without longer introduction, I would give now the floor to Andrius Tapinas. Just before that, some logistical remarks. We have interpretation to Russian language and also English, of course, here. So those who want to use interpretation, you can do it. And also the questions, as always, questions can be put on the chat. And we shall try to answer all your questions, and we shall try to have a lively discussion with Andrius Tapinas. Andrius, floor is yours, Andrius.
Ačiū, Andriu. Thank you very much, Andrius. My pleasure to be invited here. So let me share the background story about our initiative. and then I'll be happy to answer questions or maintain the dialogue with the moderator. So whatever just you are interested to hear. So I am the owner of independent YouTube television, which is totally dependent on crowdfunding from the people. We are running for 6 years, and we are quite successful in that. And we are doing a lot of things outside the television scope. I think even maybe more than doing things, social things, than doing television things right now, actually. So we are very active we were the biggest charity fund during the COVID crisis in Lithuania, and we managed to crowdfund 2.5 million euros. And from the start of the war in Ukraine, we were also very active. We organized 4-day protest at the Russian embassy in Vilnius. Then we helped with some fundraising for armored vests. And our last endeavor was upon the request of Ukrainian embassy in Vilnius to raise money for 2 recon drones, very modern drones, which work together with artillery. The cost was 330,000 euros, and we managed to do it in 16 hours. And then got me thinking, maybe we can do something more. And we have like a running joke here in Lithuania, maybe that people should, while the politicians, and I'm not talking about Lithuanian politicians, but more rather of Western European politicians, are dragging their feet, maybe we can crowdfund a tank for Zelensky or a jet fighter for Ukrainian army. That was kind of a joke. And I started thinking maybe we can make it not a joke. Of course, we can't buy lethal war weapons ourselves. That would be pretty strange. So I went to our Ministry of Defense, and the minister and vice minister received this idea very enthusiastically. We agreed upon Bairaktaro for various reasons. If you want to go further into the reasons and about how to purchase the lethal weaponry, I'll be happy to explain further on. But they took a process of negotiating with Turkish side. And once all the green lights were given by Turkish Ministry of Defense and by Baykar, the makers of Bairaktaro themselves, so the Minister of Defense, Arvydas Anušauskas, called me and said, Andrius, you have a go. Show me what you can do. So we got our goal of 5 million euros. I put the schedule of 3 weeks. And I imagined that it will be quite a hard work because it has never been done before, even in Lithuania, because of the amount of the sum. And I think in the history, because there isn't a precedent that the people of one country would raise money to buy weapons for another country. I mean, Brits were buying Spitfires during World War II for their RAF, of course, but this is kind of different case. So I had a lot of events prepared, a lot of stories prepared for that crowdfunding to keep going, because I thought that we'll have like initial momentum, and then the money will stop, and we'll have to do something very extraordinary, work hard, maybe apply to businesses and so on and so on. So boy, I was wrong, and I'm very happy to be wrong in this case, because after 2 days of fundraising, I just canceled my TV appearances because there was no need of that. We saw that the wave is going bigger and bigger. The money were coming around 2,000 euros per minute constantly. And we just managed to do a final fundraiser at the end of the 3rd day with the participation of Minister of Defense, of our Prime Minister, Ingrida Šimonytė, who was a big supporter of this idea, also the ambassador of Ukraine, Petro Bešta, and the governor of Luhansk Oblast, Serhiy Gaidai, so the guest of our final live fundraiser on YouTube. We needed 300,000 euros to reach the goal of 5 million euros. We reached that in 1 hour, during which we had the fundraiser. Other interesting thing is that when the news broke on Twitter, I got a lot of requests by foreign media to do interviews about the situation. And that triggered the wave of money coming from abroad. I think about 5 to 7% of the whole amount is money not from Lithuanians. Latvians, Estonians, Poles, Norwegians, Danish people, Australians, Canadians, and usually the money came after the interview. For example, I gave interview to Australian national radio. Immediately afterwards, we were like quite a number of donations with, I'm pretty sure that was Australians donating with their English surnames. So when everything was done on Monday, when we got all the foreign money accounted, we received almost 6 million euros. So we managed to surpass our initial goal. And then our vice minister flew to Turkey to negotiate with Bairaktaro. And then the biggest surprise of this crowdfunding hit, because Bairaktaro and Turkey government, I suppose, because it's kind of, they go hand in hand. As you know, the chief person of Baikar maker is the son-in-law of President Erdogan. So kind of it goes hand in hand. So the Turkey decided that we are so moved by the loyalty and the bravery and the response of Lithuanians with the help of other nations that they couldn't possibly take our money. So they have decided to gift us a Bairaktaro, 5 million euro worth, and that left us a little bit shell-shocked because, well, we didn't expect that. So that was an amazing gesture. Of course, I think the Turks noticed that the name Bairaktaro was just sounding all around the world media, from Canada to Australia, and that was, I think, important for them. So what's been done, that we are going to receive Bairaktaro in the record time, in 3 weeks. That's an amazing thing as well, because now the queue to purchase Bairaktaro is very long, up to 1 year. So they just pushed everyone and put us just on the first line. Our Air Force plane will fly to Istanbul and bring back the Bairaktaro to Lithuania, when the documents will be signed and the Bairaktaro will be transferred to the Ukrainian army. So that left me with 5.9 million in the account. And so 1.5 million tomorrow will go to the account of Ministry of Defense in order to buy weapons for Bairaktaro. It came fully equipped from Turkey with all the optics, electronics, and so on. But it needs to be armed. So I think that's plenty of money to get him full amount of arms, air-to-air rockets and laser-guided bombs. So that left us with 4.4 million. And now what we are doing during these days, including weekends, because it doesn't matter. So we are talking with all the institutions, both ministries of defense, both embassies in Lithuania, in Vilnius and in Kiev. We are talking to Ukrainian army, how to spend this money most effectively and especially transparently, obviously, and as soon as possible. So we are exploring several venues. We'll be working with Severodonetsk defenders. We will be working with President Zelensky Foundation, and also we'll be buying a lot of anti-drone cannons in order to distribute it to Ukrainian army. I think the amount, if we are successful, can be quite high. The experts said that if we are successful in getting all the cannons that we want to purchase, we will arm half of the Ukrainian army with anti-drones. So it's like a minimum amount they need. So we'll have half of that minimum. And it's very important because right now Russians are putting into the air everything that flies in order to correct the fire of artillery, and it hurts Ukrainians. So this is now the urgent need that we have. So that's about, I think, my initial story. A very important moment was that during all my interviews with the foreign media, I tried to stress the point that you can also do that. And in France, TF1 and the biggest news channels in France, with the serious discussions, analytical discussions, could and should the French people follow the example of Lithuania. and whether it is a possible route, because my message was always just, if a tiny Lithuania, right, population 2.8 million, less than Kiev, managed to raise 6 million euro in 3 days because of that amazing idea, because everybody was rooting for that idea that ordinary people can buy weapons for Ukraine. Just imagine what could buy the people of France, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, and all other giants of European Union. And also, we already been talking to our diplomats and Mr. Kubilius as well. And this is, I think, a diplomatic weapon for our politicians in Europe. They can always show it as an example. Ukrainians are very thankful for that. And we can use it to see that the power of the people are changing the rules of the game. And we are disrupting the rules of the game. Usually the term disruption is used only in tech industry. But right now, we are disrupting the weapons, the system, how the weapons are being distributed. And people found a way how to buy and the weapons, and they expressed the will. And I received a lot of letters and messages on Twitter from people from various countries in Europe asking, yeah, we would like our government to let us do so. We would like our influencers to join in this campaign, but right now we are joining you. So that was a very touching moment. And I hope it is not the end. So I think that's, let me stop here and maybe follow up with some questions from Andrius or from you. So it will be my pleasure to answer.
Well, thanks, Andrius. Really, it's a fascinating story, and I think it will be really in our history textbooks, featuring very much. Now, I calculated that if Germans would follow your example or Lithuanian example, let's say, so the numbers are very, very simple. 3 days and 30, 30 Bairaktars. That's challenge of your initiative. And it's maybe not a big secret. I was recently I was talking with President of European Parliament, Mrs. Roberta Metsola, and I told a little bit with that story, and she said, well, my grandmother, was asking her to help how to provide money. I don't know if she managed, to do that, but I mean, the story was going, around, and even in Malta, that was, people who were trying to join. So definitely, it's something what is very much amazing, and changing the whole picture how Europeans can behave, and I think that it can have really major impact also on politicians, because at least what we see from recent developments and what we are told by our colleagues, for example, in Germany, Social Democrats are, as political party, are suffering because the German people are demanding much stronger position of the government, and since the government, we know the story, some kind of either misunderstandings or lack of political will to provide the weapons. So Social Democrats are losing elections because voters are choosing other parties, including Greens or Christian Democrats, and so on and so on. So that message from the people I see as very important. Now, Andrius, I would ask you a very simple question. If we are looking, into the whole story, so definitely it was very clear from the very beginning that Lithuanians, they have this, wish, solidarity, feelings, love to Ukrainians, and so on and so on. And with your initiative, they were very happy to participate and to show some kind of example. But for that to happen, for this story, Bairaktار story to happen, besides, the will and all the emotions and feelings, among Lithuanians, there was another factor, Andrius Tapinas factor, who took an initiative, who put an initiative, and who managed to realize this, political will or the will of the citizens, to become a reality. So my question would be very simple. what are your next plans? Okay, still you are, you know, understand that there is an issue, you know, how to spend all those almost 6 million euros when, you know, Turkish, you know, side donated Bairaktaro. So we still have some kind of, you know, business to finalize, you know, the previous initiative. But knowing your character, I think that you will go for something, you know, next, maybe even bigger or broader. Can you tell us some words about that?
We go with Andrius Kubilius a long way, so he knows me a little bit. Just in a moment, I'm going to answer the question. I just thought that I forgot to mention one very important detail. When we are talking about 6 millions, it must be stressed very much that it was raised by the hundreds of thousands ordinary people. There wasn't one oligarch who came and donated like 1 million. Our biggest donation was 30,000 euros, just 30,000 euros. There were zero of big businesses in Lithuania contributing to this campaign, zero. I'm not blaming them. I'm pretty sure that they just didn't manage to catch the train in 3 days, because if you want to donate like, I don't know, 200,000 euros, well, there are some procedures as you have to from a CEO of a big company usually, and we just, you know, like it went like that. So this is very important to understand that this was the donations of 1 euro, 5 euro, 20 euro, 50 euro, and so on. And yes, Andrius is correct. That came also because of the huge amount of trust that we as a company, maybe myself as a person, have in Lithuania. We have proved again and again that we are trustworthy, and we are crazy enough to do some things like that. Regarding the future, so yes, of course, my priority is to spend 4.4 million as fast, as efficient, and as transparent as possible. So it comes with a lot of paperwork, a lot of legal things, and also we don't want to go the easiest way. For example, let's just transfer the money to the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and so on. No, I want to be accountable for everything we purchase. And when we are going to overlook the purchases with the members of our embassy, we're going to track the logistics, and we're going to be there when the end users receive these things, anti-drone cannons or was, for us to film it, to photograph it, to make all the necessary signatures, and to be sure that this equipment is being given straight to the front, straight to the arms of commanders and soldiers, not to be in some warehouse, or because we know already some stories that some equipment can be misplaced. I think there'll be a lot of talk after the war. We want to be as transparent as possible. Now, regarding the future, well, I have an idea. This idea has already been discussed with the Ministry of Deputy Minister of Defense of Czech Republic, Mr. Tomáš Kopecký, because he was the one spearheading the excellent fundraising campaign in Czech Republic. They raised 50 million euros from Czech people, of course, in three months from the start of the war. So I'm thinking on the lines of what if, and just please, just refer it as just my fantasy right at the moment. What if we would form a base as an alliance of 5 nations who understands the Ukraine the best? That would be 3 Baltic countries, Poland, and Czech Republic, with, of course, every person living in the 3 nations welcome to join. And then together with their influences, with their biggest and most popular people, we would try to raise something jaw-breaking for Ukrainian army, and to see the true solidarity and power of the people. Maybe we can even get some bigger nations to join, but I would bet that at least these 5 nations could work together, fast, efficient, and trusting each other at the beginning. So this is like kind of fantasy, because we need to understand whatever the amount of money we can receive. First and most important thing is to show the people what shall we buy. And the success of Bairaktaro was because I told specifically to the people in Lithuania, we are going to buy the combat drone. Look at the YouTube and see how it destroys Russian tanks and ships. If I would say we would raise the money for Ukraine, I mean, everybody's doing that. There is no story in that. There is no excitement in that. There is no show. Let's be fair. We need a show. This is like 100th day of war. People are starting to tire. So they need a show. Let's be fair. They need a good PR stunt. Bairaktaro is a good PR stunt. So we need to raise the bar even more. And right now, I know that already some officials in several countries are thinking, are discussing what can be bought. And once we know that something extremely exciting can be bought, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, yeah, that's so additional. Yeah, I was thinking also that there are really perhaps three major factors for success. Of course, what we can call power of the people. I mean, citizens, will to and wish to participate. Second, we need to have, Tapinas, Andrius Tapinas cloned into, I don't know how many ones, for Europe. And then we need to have something like Bairaktaro, idea which really catches everybody fantasy. Now, so it's interesting idea to have five countries to join the forces. There is one question I see on the chat. First of all, I will read it. Mikhailo Pashkov, he asks how broadly such an initiative can be, supported in the countries of Western Union. I mean, old Europe. So, do you have any kind of ideas? I mean, Andrius, how you see, Germans, French people, how to move them? I mean, because really, perhaps in some way we are surprised by success of your initiative in Lithuania, but we are not surprised by Lithuanian people, wish to participate. So the questions about other nations. What is your expectation? What is your forecast?
Well, my forecast is not extremely optimistic, because where you need to most likely understand the psyche of the people, and I understand the psyche of Lithuanians, and I think the Poles, and of course our brothers and sisters in Latvia and Estonia and Eastern Europe. I think it would be quite hard to move Germans and French people, for example, even if their top influencers would join, whether it would be like such a massive event, right? If we call the numbers, so let's say that around 10% of Lithuanian people donated to the cause. Would the French get 10% of the people? I doubt that at the moment. And once again, it would be quite, I think, hard to them to grasp this idea at the moment, I say. So that's why we are not, we are thinking about alliance of 5 nations, we of course would be talking to by all channels to the French and to the Brits, especially the Brits, and don't forget our good friends in the United States of America, who love the crowdfunding idea. I mean, if there is one nation who loves to crowdfund everything, that's United States. If we have celebrities who would could stand behind this idea, that's United States. So I think one of the tasks, if this idea from fantasy becomes a reality, would be to work very hard with this market of United States, first of all, where we feel that we could move the people, people of Texas, give the guns to Ukraine, okay? And I think that could work with some So our diplomats, well, again, those countries who would be involved should work very hard with the Americans. So I would say if we need to spend our time most effectively, I would say go for Brits and Americans. But of course, I'm pretty sure that there will be like people from all over the world who would love to join the cause. And there will be French and German, but right now I'm being quite realistic, and I would say that I don't see the huge wave in France or Germany raising on its own. Most likely people can join that new initiative if it comes to reality. And okay, if even 10,000 people from Germany and France will join with their financial capabilities, at least 20 businesses from France or Germany would join, that would already be a very strong sign of cooperation. So, but again, this is like, this is Andrius, like it's like forecasting the weather. Now we are forecasting. I was forecasting like 3 weeks, an extremely hard job for me and for my television, trying to raise 6 million. It was like a blast in 3 days. I was wrong. I may be wrong about this one too. Maybe we can find, maybe French will find some very loud voices to stand behind their initiative. I would love to hear about that. Maybe we start this initiative of 5, and then French can come and say, okay, we're going to do our own, but let's collaborate. So it's all right now in the wind. So all the opportunities are possible. I would say that the most realistic bit is to try to win hearts of British people and Americans.
Yeah, that's perhaps I can just agree with your forecast. I would maybe, I would add, I don't know how Canadians are able to jump on, but I just know that in Canada they have quite a big Ukrainian community, so that can be, some kind of advantage. But can you, well, again, since you are really not just, very, very good in crowdfunding initiatives, but also in some kind of, big public events. And can you elaborate a little bit, in your opinion, okay, this is a way how, people can put their money and to feel that they are, assisting Ukraine with the weapons delivery. But I see some kind of, also very important consequence of that is that, if people are starting to participate in such kind of, initiative, especially from the countries where the leadership is sometimes too slow in making important political decisions, like we have with Germany, with some other countries, that this initiative can have an influence on government, position, government decision making. So can you elaborate on that? How you see, how such kind of initiative, if it becomes, if it starts with 5 countries and Great Britain, Americans, what kind of influence it can have on, let's say, old Europe, a little bit bureaucratic, and slow in political decisions, way of thinking and decision making.
Well, Andrius, I can give you one example of the initiative that is being launched just today. It's like, I think it's a testing initiative, but I like it. So we're gonna also through our support with that. So the initiative is like this. It's very simple. Lithuanian Post managed to, in record time, to publish and start selling the stamp with Bairaktaro. It's commemorating stamp. It's on the market today. And so we are telling all the Lithuanians to write a letter to the president of France or to Chancellor of Germany to put that stamp on the envelope and to put some moving text. So it's, again, very fast, very, very simple initiative. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to urge my followers to do that. So So it's kind of a very fast and short thing. So I see it just as a testing ground to see how can we influence the politicians. Now, what we could ask for every person in Europe once we launch a new initiative, we would ask a simple thing, or 3 simple things. First, donate yourself. That's fine. Second, tell your 5 friends, tell your mother, tell your grandmother about this initiative. Third, write a letter to the representative that you have elected. Pick your representative, either at the municipality level or at parliament level. Write to him, express your thoughts, explain why have you donated the money, and ask him what you can do about that. So this is the grassroots initiative that usually pushes the democracy one step further. And I think people would be happy to take part in this if we manage to make it really big international event. Again, I'm talking about stories. I'm talking about new age of media. Then you are feeling that you are part of something big. If you manage to create this, in Lithuania, we managed to create it easily. If you manage to create this at least in 5 countries, maybe, God willing, more, not only donating, but also pushing their politicians towards the more direct decisions regarding Ukraine, then we can expect a success. And again, we would be changing the rules of the game, how the democracy is working in the old Europe, because the changes are coming. And I think the Bairaktaro is just a first sign of the changes about to come. The thing is, can we maintain the momentum? Can we get something extremely exciting for people to come? I have said some examples. I won't be telling them to you today because it would be like, why? Maybe it's just the words in the wind. But when I tell them to the people, just to check the reaction, their blood starts pumping and they already ask, where can I donate? So if we manage to do it with the help of the diplomats, foreign ministers, defense ministers of several countries, we can be in very interesting ride, and the support of the Euro parliaments from various countries would be absolutely crucial. I mean, we would have to have some big events inside the Brussels, inside the Strasbourg, we are thinking about one big event maybe in Warsaw or in Vilnius and so on, but the support of the elected officials, because the game is playing in both ways. The tango is for 2. So people should press the politicians should react and be proactive in supporting such initiative as this. As we saw in Lithuania, almost every politician supported it, through it, either by just expressing the public supports or coming to participate in fundraiser or just donating themselves. And again, I'm very happy to say that a lot of people, a lot of famous people in Lithuania, politicians, just put on the social networks the amounts, the print screens of their bank transfers, and that works as a charm, because the people see that their politicians are donating as well, not only talking, but digging in their pockets. And it doesn't matter whether it's 10 euros or 500 euros or 2,000 euros, as our Minister of Innovation and Economics donated, and she raised another wave of support. So it can work, and I think it would be extremely good for democracy in Europe to at last to see the people and elected officials working at the same direction on a very exact and concrete goal.
Great, Andrius. We are coming perhaps to end of our online coffee drinking, but one additional question again. Well, it's very clear now, Bairaktaro, and as you are saying, some kind of next step, is big, something very big and important and very much needed thing is for me, it's very clear now. It works, at least for Lithuania, and it works. With Andrius Tapinas in the leadership, that's good. And I think that it will work also with that new big idea for 5 countries to start and so on, what you explained. My question is, a little bit of different sort, because at least in my view, Ukraine, as very important geopolitical issue for Europe and for globally, will stay for a longer period of time. I don't know when the war will end, how things will go. Of course, we hope that the victory will be on our side, on Ukrainian side, with Bairaktars and so on. But there are also some kind of political or geopolitical issues, not directly related with the weapon. But for example, now we are fighting here, and we are gearing up with all our political initiatives with our network United for Ukraine, on candidate status to Ukraine. Where again we see the same. Some governments are reluctant; they are looking for reasons not to support. It's difficult even to understand what are those arguments, and people are very much supporting. So my questions, is very simple. Can you imagine? Well, maybe for time being you are busy with some kind of more material, projects. But can you imagine that some kind of this, power to the people movement will start to look also into possibilities to influence also those issues which are also very much important for Ukraine, like candidate status, like again Marshall Plan, which we're talking here about, reconstruction and so on, where there will be a need of big amount of money, and the money can come only with the political decisions of the governments. I mean, the governments need to agree on some kind of new facility borrowing on EU behalf in the markets and so on and so on. So in general, my questions: can you imagine that with all that experience which you are getting now going into broader areas, but you are getting with that crowdfunding, that you will be able to lead the same citizens crowd to some kind of not material goals but more political goals?
Well, let me be frank, it would be much harder. I mean, it's exciting to pitch in and to buy combat drone or something even more exciting. It's less exciting for people to start understanding the political processes. It's a normal procedure. So I wouldn't be extremely optimistic and say, oh yes, we can manage it. Let's be fair. But the thing is what we are building here, and if we can build this. So if we build the next step successfully, that means that we have a platform, we have a space, we have a connection, we have a network of people who aren't indifferent to the plight of Ukraine. So if we maintain this network of, let's say, the people from 5 countries or even more or 7, and we manage to maintain the network in terms of need, I think we can try to activate it, at least a part of it. And if we have a good story for people to catch. I mean, I'm a storyteller myself. I'm writing books and telling stories, and that's my livelihood. And I think the storytelling is the most important tool that humanity has. Since the dawn of time, the storyteller was the most important person in the tribe. So if we get the story to tell, if we can support that story with various facts and pictures and view for future and some maybe idealistic visions, yes, I think we can get people behind. Of course, not as strong as to get behind them to buy some weapons in order to end the Russian invasion. But I think we can do that. But that, Andrius, is so far in the future, I can't even see behind the clouds. I'm trying very hard not to put my head into the clouds and stay realistic, and that's why in my remarks I try to be as realistic, and I always so happy when I'm being realistic and quite skeptic, and then I'm wrong. I love to be wrong about these things.
Well, Andrew, thanks a lot, really. At least, you are showing, I don't know how much you are realistic, but you are showing, that really this saying, dreams becoming reality, it's a real story, you are creating that story, So to have a dream to buy a Bairaktaro, it's quite a dream, you know, and then it becomes reality, and you know, and definitely then our dreams, your dreams and our dreams together, you know, are becoming even bigger ones. Well, we have, you know, we have one question, but I would say a legal one from, well, we know Andrius Kubilius, maybe we shall write back. I don't know about EU directive on armament, you know, maybe you, Andrius, have something, but...
I can tell I saw the Andrius question. It's very important for us to understand about all the legal issues. So we are not skirting anything. We are doing it completely legal. So there are very simple procedure. The Ministry of Defense of Lithuania, and I am pretty sure of every other European country, can legally buy and transfer lethal weapons to Ukraine. That's first. The second, the Ministry of Defense, at least in Lithuania, but I think also as well as in other countries, can receive the financial help from the society. It's legal. That's it. We are transferring the financial help to our Ministry of Defense. Our Ministry of Defense are buying lethal weaponry. Everything is being checked. There are no skirting. There won't be any private entities starting to buy Bairaktars and selling them to the rebels in South Sudan or whatever it is. It's everything controlled. Everything is going through the proper channels. Just the money is coming not from the budget of the country, but from the pockets of nurses, teachers, students, and senior citizens of the United Europe.
Well, Andrius, I can just read, you know, the last comment which we got on the chat. I can read it even in Russian language. Ваша миссия, Andrius, ваша миссия очень важна и благородна. So your mission is very important, and well, I don't know even how to translate благород. Very
noble.
Yeah, noble. Yeah. So without what really, I would like to thank you.
My pleasure.
For participation in our online coffee drinking small early hours seminar of our network. Second, thanks a lot for what you managed to do, you know, back in Lithuania with that initiative on Bairaktaro. And thanks a lot for your dreams, you know, as you call them, realistic. And I know, you know, from our experience with Andrius Tapinu back in Lithuania, that those dreams will become reality. So thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I see very important is, you know, message, power to the people, you know, very important for the whole Europe. Thanks a lot, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.